So even though the solar storm is over, the effects of the solar storm remain. And they will be remaining. They will be remaining for some time. The colors may be gone, but the effect of the solar storm remains. And there's nobody else. There is no one else that has the intelligence and the empathy and the spirituality to identify and experience that there is a greater level of racism and Islamophobia in the general population. Okay, and so this is something that people like myself should be taught by their parents in the future to protect themselves, especially as the sun continues to ramp up, because these humans on the ground refuse to connect the dots. Last night I was at the park, and someone came into the park and started to shoot their gun. And this is someone probably out drinking all night long with their ghetto girlfriend. They say to themselves, hey, let's pull over at the park and release a few rounds. And it was the same evening that I would be at the park, relaxing, having a few beers by myself outside the house in a safe way, listening to music on my CD player. I had my battery bank there, I had my headphones, so I was rocking out 2 CDs, and you could say that I took it quite well. But that was happening yesterday on a Friday, in which I spent a lot of time at the coffee shop, and a woman that I wrote about briefly in the blog, glaring at me and sending me negative energy, psychic attack energy, in fact, over hatred. Now, over the last few years, I've given my card out at that coffee shop, but I never talked to her. Never wanted to talk to her. She's big, she's blonde, big boobs. She's not the kind of female, especially in this part of the United States. These are not the types of females that will date a shorter, dark-skinned male if he's spiritual and prophetic. The last part is the part you need to focus on. Spiritual and prophetic. Sure, there are short, carnalistic douchebags that are out there that will beat up women, that will start fights with bigger guys. They're out there. Douchebag small guys, Satanists, are out there. That doesn't mean because he's shorter or what not that he's a better person. That guy that created that legal case for me was a short guy with a short woman in New Mexico. So I need to remember that. Some of them are really bad people. But it's not about the height, it's the lack of soul. So, I'm not going to be unrealistic when I'm at the gym and I'm working out with or next to a couple of white women that are the exact same age as me. We may have a generational energetic connection, but I'm a useless little shit to them. And so discrimination is more pronounced than ever before. Plus I'm aging, plus I'm ethnic, plus I'm different. So I'm experiencing a real world hate right now, wherever I go, and there's no letting up. There's nothing. There are no friends. What there are a lot of people that just happen to agree because they have the same psychology that I'm an asshole. And they overlook the things that could help them because they're not in agreement that those things have value. If they did think that my content had value, then they would focus on the videos in which they could accrue some knowledge to save themselves and their family. And we're talking about spiritually, mentally, and physically, as well as emotionally. There's various components to my work. So we have now this period in time in which we saw the red sky. The red sky. The red sky. But there's little to no conversation about the red sky meaning something. There's little to no conversation about what it may mean if the aurora borealis is seen in all 50 states. There's no real conversation about what the aurora borealis might actually be. And then why would certain people feel really aggressive when they see my face or when they see me around town? There was a cop that honked at me as I drove by him. he may have been saying hi. However, I don't like the sound of his cruiser. But I think maybe that was his way of saying hi, since I did say hi to them and introduce myself to them. But now I stay out of the local Starbucks because they called the cops on me. Now, understand where I'm coming from with this trauma. 10 months after the fact. 1 year after the fact, they kicked me out of the mall, but now I can go back. And I did go back, and they looked at me funny, but they kept walking. He glanced at me, I looked at him. The fat Asian Korean guard. He looked at me, I looked at him, and he looked away again. He recognized me. And he wasn't even trying to come after me. And so, yesterday I go by the market. And there is another officer from another town who took me to the mental hospital. And I whip off my glasses, take them off very quickly. And I go, yeah! As I look at him with intention, it burned him. He didn't like it. Too bad. Okay? They don't like my presence because there's a scolding burning to who and what I am. And I know I have power. And I know that I have a certain level of protection. It is not infinite, and that which can be given can and often is taken away. And that's the reality. Okay? And so I have this connection with numbers. I have this connection with this 66. And the reminder, I just saw it just now, to stay balanced. And what you focus on increases. So if you focus on the 66 or the 666 or the 666, you're going to see it, or things that add up to 12 or 24, things divisible by 6, and it is a reminder that we need balance. It may be a warning sign that we are to delist something or to stop uploading or saying something. Then I'll see other codes, other numbers. And then the more spiritual the evening is, the more the relief, the stronger the message, the more I'll see the 99 or the 999 or the 1111 or the 33 or the 333 or the 333 or the various 3333 license plates coming together with a dash of 334 or a 339 and 144. 777, 555, lot of 15 and 30 symbolisms. And so what's happening is it's way more obvious and deliberate. And there are some religious perspectives that is demonic, the world of numbers, that can be manipulated to a certain degree. But to a certain degree, there's manifestation of numbers. Of course, how this could be applied to Keno and or uses of the pendulum, that is a controversial subject. Rationale would suggest that this knowledge can easily be applied to bingo, gambling, but that's actually not really how it works. It's not that easy. And if it was made to be that easy, a lot of people would be wealthy through using the power of their mind to become this or that. And a lot of people do, but they end up then attacked by those thought forms of greed that they created. And so we are in a time in human history with the aurora borealis. While the skies may no longer be red, while the skies may no longer be green, may no longer be blue. Okay, there is a aggression in the air. And so let me go ahead and wrap up my thoughts, and let me go ahead and throw this up on maybe a few mediums, although I'm getting very few views. They don't want this knowledge out there. This energy, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening, and I think Clyde Lewis should hear this. This energy that we are looking at is not nothing. It is something. It is something that empowers the other realms that I believe are oppressed in us. The sun is a source of life to both forms of human life, but also forms of non-human life that feed on us, the way that we feed on animals, the way that we feed on fruits and vegetables, the way that we consume that which came from the sun, that which was fed by the sun the same goes for us. And perhaps something even more draconian in the future if this Sea Atlas, whatever it is something more than an Elon Musk satellite or a host or something. But as Sufi Realities, who I watch, warned, they may be wanting to put our attention on this object in order to siphon our prana. Okay, so keep in mind that what you focus on increases, and there is a dark application to this. Okay, begin to look at the work of Dion Fortune, and begin to look at the predictions that have been made over the years, including by Alice Bailey. However you perceive her, it's not someone that I've studied deeply, but there have been both optimistic and pessimistic, like the late Tom Horn, views on the year 2025. And then you'll have Chris Green of AMTV, who I worked for at one point, who will be a Johnny-come-lately, clickbait professional artist who will seize upon the 2025 language long after I told him and others. They will culturally appropriate the 2025 tip-up, showing what scumbags they actually are. But I don't need to deal with them. I'm not a black magician. No. God will deal with them. The angels that are descending from heaven that I have summoned, along with the holy, not the sinful, but the holy victims of war who did not need to die. So I understand what's going on with your Borealis. There are spirits in them clouds. I have been photographing clouds for years. I have been fascinated by the subject of cloud busting for years. I've been following and connecting with the dead spirit of Dion Fortune for years, plus Burl Payne. We could go on the Clyde Lewis show in a area like Portland, Oregon, and get 50 people that are serious about meditating on the same symbol at the same time, and we can affect real change that George Norrie and Coast to Coast is scared of. But I'm not scared. I'm not Art Bell. I'm not George Norrie. I'm not compromised by whoever they're compromised by. I am the real deal. And that's what this is about. This is the spirit of the warrior. This is harnessing the power of the sun against the black magicians, against Satanism. They want to turn the table. They want to manipulate things. They want to create false flags blamed on Muslims to create a certain outcome because it's coming. And it's already happening. And you need to understand the way the dark side works, Luke. Through this Aurora Borealis, through this energy, which could be angelic and could be demonic to some. Some people can fall under possession that are immigrants, as well as white people and black people, and play that role to where the media says, look what this migrant did, look what this white person did, look what this black person did, look what this Afghan did, look what this Arab did. And then the people are just, like even on the local media here, they're constantly talking about saving the women from Iran, from the horrible Iranian men and the horrible Arab men, and they don't look at themselves in the mirror and go, we are super hateful every time these Aurora Borealises come around. Hitler was hateful. Hitler invaded Poland. And then we see what's taking place with Donald Trump being a sigil for these people as the solar cycle rises. So go to my Substack. Look at those pictures. I want to thank Ronald McDonald. No, Ronald is in my group. Join my group. Join my group on Facebook, and let's talk about it. Tell me what you're experiencing. Tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what crime is taking place. And tell me how you cope. And if you had to drink 6 beers to calm down for the first time in months, as I did last night at the park, tell me about that. Because this guy rolled up to the park with his skanky-ass girlfriend as they were drinking all night. And DFW came up on 80 and just started like unleashing some rounds. I'll tell you what, that moment right there and then, I wanted a crossbow, and I wanted to run at his ass. Because that's what it's going to come down to when it goes down. I'm going to have a crossbow, and like a real warrior, against our men, I'm going to scream like I've screamed at people on the internet, but this time it's going to be for real. And if I'm screaming through a megaphone, they won't know whether I'm 5'6", or 8'6", or 13'6", or just straight up 1,000 feet tall. Because in spirit, brother, that's what I am. I am connected to those 1,000 feet angels that are now descending to earth. This concludes this morning's broadcast.